You can get rich overnight with crypto, but you can also lose your entire future just as fast. Our grandparents didn't have the luxury of get-rich-quick schemes, yet they built generational wealth through sheer discipline. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on why the modern obsession with fast money is quietly eroding your financial foundation. It isn't just about what you earn, it's about what you keep and how you think. If you're tired of the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle and want to know why your strategy is failing, stick around. This is the reality check you've been waiting for. To understand where we went wrong, we need to go back to the 1930s. Imagine your grandparents living through the Great Depression. They didn't have high-frequency trading apps, they didn't have instant credit lines, and they certainly didn't have the buy now, pay later culture. What they had, and what we have completely lost, is something I call financial friction. When they needed groceries, they physically counted out their bills. When they saved for a rainy day, they stuffed cash into literal envelopes marked rent, food, or emergency. When those envelopes were empty, the spending stopped, period. There was no overdraft fee, no hidden digital balance, and no illusion of infinite liquidity. That physical act of handing over cold, hard cash created a psychological delay. It forced a moment of pause. In that moment of pause, your brain had time to ask, do I actually need this, or do I just want it? That is financial friction. It's the gatekeeper of your wealth, and it used to be built into the very fabric of our economy. Fast forward to 2026, look at your own life. We are living in the one-click economy. Friction has been systematically removed from every corner of our financial existence. You want a product? One click on Amazon. You want a meal? A swipe on Uber Eats. You want to invest? A tap on a trading app. Everything is designed to be frictionless. Everything is designed to remove the pain of paying. But here is the brutal truth that Wall Street doesn't want you to know. The pain of paying is exactly what keeps you solvent. When you lose that sensation of losing money, you lose your ability to regulate your consumption. Think about it. When you pull out a credit card or use a digital wallet, you aren't really spending in the eyes of your brain, you're just completing a transaction. The neurological signal that should warn you about depleting your resources is deadened by the convenience of digital finance. This is why you can be earning a high salary, well above the national average, and still find yourself scraping by at the end of the month. You aren't bad at money, you're simply playing a game where the opponent has rigged the rules to be as frictionless as possible. The tech companies, the banks, the retailers, they are all working in perfect harmony to ensure that your money leaves your pocket as effortlessly as possible. We have become experts at consuming, but we have become illiterate at holding. So what happens when we remove this friction? We start suffering from lifestyle inflation on steroids. We don't just upgrade our lives, we upgrade them automatically, subconsciously, and perpetually. Because we don't feel the cost of our choices, we don't realize we're trading our future freedom for present-day convenience until the bank balance hits zero. It's a trap, and it's a global one. From the suburbs of Ohio to the apartments in London, the symptom is the same. We are drowning in digital convenience while starving for genuine financial security. We have traded the grit of the 1930s for the convenience of the 2020s, and we've convinced ourselves it's progress. But is it? If you look at the personal savings rates across Western nations, they are at historic lows. We are consuming more than any generation in human history, yet we feel less secure than the generation that lived through an actual economic collapse. Why? Because we've lost the habit of restraint. We've lost the habit of waiting. We've lost the habit of feeling the weight of our own money. In the next part of this breakdown, we're going to look at what happens when that lack of restraint meets the high-stakes world of modern investing. We're going to dissect how this frictionless mindset has turned millions of people into accidental gamblers, trading the slow, steady build of real assets for the adrenaline-fueled lottery of day trading. You think you're investing, but are you?
Let's find out. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the transition from spending to investing. In our modern frictionless world, the line between these two has not just blurred, it has been erased. Open any social media feed today. You are bombarded with the get-rich-quick siren song, crypto moonshots, meme coins that promise 100x returns, day trading algorithms that claim to beat the market while you sleep. It's intoxicating, it's fast, and for a very small, very lucky minority, it works. But for the vast majority of you, the people working 9-to-5s, trying to build a future for your families, this isn't investing. This is state-sponsored gambling. When you put your hard-earned money into a volatile, unproven asset because a stranger on the internet told you it would go to the moon, you aren't participating in the global economy, you are participating in a game of musical chairs where the music could stop at any second. And unlike the disciplined, slow-burn wealth of the 1930s, this path offers no structural integrity. If the bubble bursts, there is no plan B. There is only the realization that you traded your stability for the possibility of a shortcut. Many of you have been told a very dangerous lie. Saving is the enemy of wealth because of inflation. You've heard it from every finance influencer out there. They tell you that holding cash is a losing game and that you must be aggressive, you must be in the market, you must take risks to keep up. But here is the twist I want you to really sit with today. Many people use the fear of inflation as an excuse for reckless speculation. Saving is the enemy of wealth is only true if you have a discipline problem. I'm here to tell you this. Discipline is the only defense you have before you are truly ready to invest. Think about the logic. If you don't have the discipline to control your spending, if you can't master the simple act of living below your means, what makes you think you have the discipline to master the volatile, emotional roller coaster of the stock market? If you can't manage a budget, you will be eaten alive by market volatility. The market doesn't care about your intentions, it only responds to your actions. And if your action is to chase hype, you are the exit liquidity for someone else's success. True investing, the kind that builds generational wealth, is profoundly boring. It's unsexy. It involves dollar-cost averaging into broad-based index funds, maintaining a long-term horizon, and ignoring the daily noise. It looks nothing like the high-stakes, adrenaline-fueled day trading videos you see on your screen. The people who built wealth in the 1930s didn't build it by guessing which commodity would spike next week. They built it by mastering their own behavior. They mastered the art of enough. They understood that wealth is what you don't see. It's the cars not bought, the vacations not taken on credit, the fancy clothes not purchased. When you prioritize speculation over discipline, you are essentially gambling with your future freedom. You are betting that you are smarter than the entire market, smarter than the institutions, and smarter than the data. You are betting that you can bypass the fundamental laws of compounding, which require time, consistency, and stability. And let's be honest about the emotional toll. When you speculate, you are constantly checking your phone. You're stressed, you're reactive, you're trading your mental peace for the hope of a quick win. Is that really the life of a wealthy person? Does a wealthy person spend their Tuesday afternoon panicking because a meme coin dropped 20%? No. A wealthy person spends their Tuesday afternoon focusing on their craft, their family, and their long-term goals. Discipline is the bedrock. If you skip the foundation, the house will collapse no matter how high you build it. You cannot speculate your way into financial freedom if you haven't first secured your financial house through basic, old-fashioned discipline. So before you place your next trade, I want you to ask yourself, am I doing this because I have a solid, long-term thesis based on value, or am I doing this because I'm bored, I'm impatient, and I'm afraid to be left behind? Be honest with yourself, because the market has a way of exposing the truth, and it does so with zero mercy. We are living in an era where the noise is louder than ever, but the signal remains the same. Wealth is a result of character, not luck. You have to be willing to be the person who works quietly while others are chasing shadows. You have to be willing to be the person who prioritizes the boring, slow accumulation over the explosive, fleeting win. This isn't to say that modern tools are bad. They are in fact incredibly powerful, but they are tools, not masters. When you master your spending, when you master your discipline, and when you stop looking for the exit sign marked shortcut, you finally start to see the path that actually leads to somewhere. We've spent enough time talking about why the current system is failing you, but it's not enough to just complain about the one-click economy or the gambler's mindset. You need a framework.
You need a system that translates these ancient principles into the 2026 digital reality. You need to know how to use these tools without letting them use you. And that is exactly what we are going to dive into next, the system that bridges the gap between the grit of the past and the technology of the future. So, how do we actually bridge the gap? How do we take that rugged discipline of the 1930s and make it functional in our high-tech 2026 reality? It comes down to a 5-step framework that turns technology from a distraction into a defensive tool. First, you need to digitize the envelope. We're not going back to literal paper envelopes, but we are using tools like YNAB or Monarch to create hard limits. You configure your app to act as an automated gatekeeper. Once a category is empty, you don't adjust, you stop. You're letting the software enforce the discipline that our brain is too tired to maintain. Second, implement the 30-day friction rule. If you want to buy something non-essential over a certain price point, add it to a list and wait. Period. In a world of one-click instant gratification, waiting is a radical act of defiance. Most of the time, the desire will evaporate, proving it was just a dopamine impulse, not a real need. Third, move to automated savings. Don't wait until the end of the month to see what's left. There will never be anything left. Set your payroll to move a percentage of your income directly into a high-yield account before you ever see it in your checking. Treat your savings like a tax you owe yourself. Fourth, audit your digital drains. This is your subscription, your app store purchases, your hidden recurring costs. If you aren't using it weekly, cancel it. These microtransactions are the death by 1,000 cuts that keep you paycheck to paycheck. Fifth, define your enough. This is the most crucial step. Wealth isn't a higher number, it's a lower need. Identify what your life actually costs to run comfortably, and when your income grows, don't automatically scale your life to match it. That gap, that space between your income and your lifestyle is where your future wealth lives. Now, why is this so hard? Why do we feel such resistance? It's because of something I call risk numbness. Look at your screen. Whether it's a trading app or a portfolio tracker, you're constantly bombarded by flashing green and red numbers. When the market moves, you feel an adrenaline spike. But after weeks of staring at those numbers, something happens. You stop feeling the impact of the volatility. You become numb. You start treating your life savings like a video game score, moving money around with the same emotional detachment you'd use to reset a character in a game. That numbness is dangerous. It's what allows you to ignore the fundamental reality that this isn't a game. This is your survival. You need to pull back. You need to reconnect with the weight of your capital. Stop looking at the daily fluctuations and start looking at the annual progress. When you stop chasing the win of the day, you start seeing the long-term arc of your life. It's time to stop letting the technology own your attention and start using it to secure your independence. You don't need more information, you need more intention. It's time to stop gambling and start building. Ultimately, you have to realize that true wealth isn't just about the balance in your digital wallet today. It's about your ability to keep that money and grow it steadily over the next 30 years. We've been conditioned to chase the high of the next big move, but in the long run, the most successful investors aren't the ones who get lucky. They are the ones who stay in the game. I'm not telling you to stop investing. In fact, you should be investing more than ever. But I am telling you to stop gambling with your future. Stop looking for shortcuts that don't exist and start respecting the fundamental laws of money. Your discipline is your greatest asset. Your patience is your highest leverage, and your ability to define what enough means for you is the only thing that will prevent you from chasing your own tail until you have nothing left. The tools of 2026 are incredible, but they are useless if you don't have the character of the 1930s to back them up. So, here is my final question for you. Out of everything we've discussed, the envelope system, the 30-day rule, or the discipline of avoiding lifestyle inflation, which one do you think is actually the hardest to implement in our current world? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading them. And if this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs a reality check. Stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next one.